Uh, My name is Oscar Mireles, and I edited two anthologies that were titled "I Didn't Know There Were Latinos in Wisconsin." And I'm going to be putting together another anthology 20 years after the first one. So I'm going to read a couple of poems, and then I have the pleasure of inviting my daughter, who's a freshman at the UW here, and she'll be reading one of the spoken word pieces. How many people here like their names? How many people here don't like their names? How many people here are named after relatives, like a grandma? If you could change your name, how many people in the room would change their name? What would you change it to? Are you just changing? But you hadn't thought about it. Anybody else? Anybody willing to say they change their name? Yeah. What would you change it to?
Arto.
Arto. Well, this poem was inspired by my youngest son, who's now 16, and it's called. If you just tell the theater people just to keep quiet for a second, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Poetry is probably one of the hardest things to both write and even harder to listen and appreciate. I appreciate the cooperation. This poem's called "Why Did You Name Me Javier, Dad?" Why did you name me Javier, Dad? My son Javier was asking me this question as we were driving home from his T-ball game and stopping at Culver's to get a single scoop ice cream cone. Can I change my name when I get older? Each one of my 3 other children had asked me the same question when they were about 5 or 6 years old. My oldest son, Diego, asked me one night when I was reading him a go-to-bed book, why was I named Diego Jesus Margil Barbosa Fidelis? I informed him as my first child, in which my wife let me pick the name, that he was named after the famous Mexican muralist Diego Rivera. And I found out later that my Diego was born almost on the same day as his namesake, 100 years minus 1 day. He was named Jesus after my older brother, whom I thought would never have children, and named Margil after my grandfather. But he was not impressed. He still thought I should have probably named him Kurt or Steve, or another name that doesn't take up too much space, or no one would notice the first day of school. Sergio Andres, my second oldest son, asked me the same question when I was trying to get him out of the bathtub. He said the kids had a hard time saying his name and came up with words like surgery and Sergio Valente, and words we can't say in a family-style poem. Finally, he said, that I rolled in the back, "Didn't you know any English names, Dad?" I told him his mother and I purposely picked names that could not be easily changed to English ones, like Carlos to Chuck, Juan to John, and Jose to Joe. But when my daughter, Lorena Pilar, asked me right before I had fallen asleep trying to read to her why we named her Lorena, I told her it was the most beautiful name I could ever think of. And why would she want to be one of the thousands of Jessicas or Ambers or Tiffany's? She was very hurt and thought I was punishing her or something. This gets us back to my youngest son, Javier, who was originally named Oscar Javier. But after less than 24 hours of hearing little Oscar, little Oscar, little Oscar, in the nursing room of the hospital, my wife and I decided to change his name and not subject him to 20 years of that. So we switched his name to Javier Oscar. And I was ready to give my personal cultural pride speech to my 6-year-old and was about to open my mouth wide with advice. And suddenly I got this inspiration to say nothing, to keep quiet, and listen to what my son had to say. You know, Dad, I want to change my name when I get older to Oscar so I can be more like you. How many people here have 11 brothers and sisters? Raise your hand. After my mom had children, she went to work. My mother is a social worker who works in a hospital. My mother is a social worker who works in a hospital. She makes daily visits, checks her charts, shares small talk with the patients, and brightens up the room with her concern. My mother is a social worker who works in the hospital. She's always the first one at the scene, just like the television doctors. Whether in the birthing room, at my niece Amanda's arrival, or on the operating table, medicine's trapdoor. My mother is a social worker who works in a hospital. My mother translates for the Spanish patients, especially after surgery. She touches their fear with words that can heal. My mother is a social worker who works in a hospital. Surprisingly, there is little blood or sweat on her pink uniform. Just a day's sweat and dirt. You wouldn't know she was a cleaning lady if you looked in her eyes. My mother is a social worker who works in the hospital.